Thank you very much for joining me for the opening session this morning. It's always the best time to be up on here to get the conversations going. And what better topic to talk about? What do travelers want? It's been a couple of years since a lot of travel has been happening. It's getting started. It's ramping up quite fast. And as Glenn mentioned, 3 out of 4 travelers in Asia Pacific are looking to get away. So before we get started, maybe I can just ask you to introduce yourselves. Carlo, let's start with you.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Carlo. I've been with Booking for 7 years. And I'm currently covering EMEA. So basically, I'm the counterpart of Laura for the EMEA region. Delighted to be here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deepak Ohri. I'm the CEO of Labuan Hotels and Resort, but you can call me as a happiness ambassador. So if anyone is not happy in this room, they can come to me. Thank you.
And I'm Preston with you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Fiona MacDonald. I'm the VP of our Global Partner Services, which I joined 5 months ago. People ask me, what is that? It's all of our account management that work with you, partners out in the field, as well as commercial operations and commercial strategy. And I'm super excited to be back in Singapore myself. It's a very special place with happy memories, because I had the opportunity about 22 years ago to put my savings into the first INSEAD campus here as one of the original pioneers. So it's a special place, and I'm very delighted to be sharing the stage this morning.
Fantastic, thank you. We couldn't have a better panel to get us started. Now, as we look at the confidence of travellers across the region, we know it's been over the last few months, really since Q2, when travellers started to recover across the region. We've also seen in the last few weeks only the announcements from North Asia, which are also incredibly encouraging, and we start to see the demand already start to surge for these markets that have been closed off to us for a while. And we took a survey earlier in the year. We took it in the end of May. We released the results in June, and Glenn mentioned the Traveller Confidence Index. And we really wanted to take a pulse of how travellers were feeling across Asia Pacific. So we surveyed 11,000 travellers in 11 countries to understand what is top of mind, what would drive travellers to get back out on the road, and what's holding them back, what are their concerns. The great thing is 76% of travellers said, we're ready to travel within the next 12 months. And 46% of those said, I just want to get away. It doesn't matter what it's for, I'm just going. And it was interesting to see the results across the different countries. Across the 11 countries, India came out as number 1, as ready to go. 89% of India travelers said, yes, I am definitely going to travel. Followed closely behind by Vietnam and China. Now, interestingly, that China falls in the top 3, given that restrictions are still very heavily in China, but we are hoping that as borders open, that we welcome the Chinese travelers back into the region, and certainly we also get back into China as well. As we dive into Southeast Asia, wellness becomes very top of mind, especially Thailand. 77% of Thai travelers said that they will take a break intentionally for their mental well-being and go to retreats. For Singapore, cost remains top of mind, but 54% of travelers in Singapore said, again, I just want to get away, which is not that surprising given the domestic market is relatively small and everyone's a bit done with staycations. So it's nice to be able to get out and go a little further afield. Now, that survey was in June. It's already just a few months later and things change so fast. So I am going to ask that you open your apps and give us a quick view of how you're feeling. Many of you have traveled here. So that means that you've already taken at least one trip. For some of you, you may not have left Singapore yet, but I would love to hear how you're feeling and what's the first thing you'll be thinking of, either on your next trip or for your first trip. We will come back to the results throughout this session, but please do go in, let us know how you're feeling. We'd love to hear from you. Now, we've been here in the region following what is happening in the rest of the world. We've been excited, anticipation, looking to see. Europe recovered the fastest. The US has followed very fast behind. And we would love to hear from you, Carlo. What have you seen? What can we learn? And what trends have emerged from the great summer?
Sure. So basically what we have seen, demand has been returning very fast. We have seen in a very incredible way. So we have seen a very big shift in demand with what we could see here is a V-shaped recovery. And in Europe, basically, business started picking up again from the very beginning of 22. And it accelerated over the spring, mainly in April and May. So what we have seen is that progressively in Europe, we have been winning over COVID. Back in March, the level of vaccination in Europe was getting close to 60%. We are currently at above 80%. And what we have seen is that this pandemic progressively became more and more endemic, leading to less transmission, also to new variants that were less harmful for the population. And little by little, all the governments removed the restrictions. And what we had seen, as soon as restrictions were being removed, people were so eager to travel that they were booking massively. So basically, these 2 years of frustration, these 2 years of savings as well, have created a lot of pent-up demand. And this pent-up demand has had a very positive impact on all the bookings activities since the spring holidays. And they have been impacting our business all through this period. So what we see, as Laura was saying, there is a very strong travel appetite. When we survey our travelers, basically 64% of them are saying that travel is more important today than before the pandemic. What we have also seen in Europe during the summer is that we have come back to a kind of somewhat pre-pandemic normal. People going back to a normal life with live, big events, big in-person events happening again, like today here, so basically entertainment, sports events, and that's had a very positive impact on the behaviors of the travelers. And so what we have seen, for instance, in Q2 was a milestone quarter for us because for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, our volume of room nights were higher 2019. So in Q2, our business grew by 16% versus Q2 in 2019. So which was a record-breaking quarter. Not only we were back, but on top of this, we are breaking the records. While in Q1, we are at still minus 9%. So it really improved very quickly, and these trends remain very stable and even accelerated over the summer. So also the summer, we have seen very solid gross bookings above 2019 levels, so that's very encouraging. And in Europe, it was even stronger. We were seeing double-digit growth in Europe. Basically, Germany, the UK, and France being the biggest booker markets. And what we have seen during this period, some country-to-country corridors were popping up and becoming more and more active. So basically, the Brits going to France or to Spain, the Germans, the Swiss going to Italy or to France, and the French going to Spain and Italy. So basically, it was mainly regional bookings or activities first, but international bookings were back. And so Europe was very strong, but also we have seen a lot of resilience in the US. The crisis in the US really did not impact the travel behavior. The business was very flat and quite solid.
I think it's really interesting to hear that we've seen those trends, because we've also seen it here, but to hear record numbers in Q2 before Asia was even really there yet. China's still closed. Our numbers are really ramping up towards the end of Q2. So to have record-breaking numbers in Q2 is really wonderful to see. Are there any particular trends that have emerged now, Carlo, on from the travelers post-pandemic?
Yes, quite a few. So basically, during the crisis, to start with, when travel has still been happening, but travel changed during the pandemic, it was mainly domestic. So 85% of the business during 2 years was mainly domestic business, almost everywhere across the world. So the first trend that we have seen over the past 2 quarters was basically international bookings were happening again. So in Q2, 45% of the bookings made on our platform were international bookings, where they were only 40% in Q1. If we look at the results during the last half of 21, only 33% of the bookings were international. So the first element is international bookings happening again. They are mainly intra-regional bookings, so this is also what you can expect in your region, I would say. So that's the first element. Second thing that I was looking at is the booking window. Progressively, we saw the booking window getting longer, which was a strong sign of increased customer confidence. People were ready to book, to make that commitment. But that being said, they still need a lot of security. So, the world is very uncertain, so 90% of advanced bookings are still being made on flexible conditions. So it's not because demand is there that basically we can just go for non-refundable. People still want to be on the safe side, which is also what we recommend them to do. So that's the second trend. Then when we ask our customers, about their intention, basically 62% of them say that they are more price conscious than before the pandemic. So this is what they say, but this is clearly not how they behaved. What we have seen during the last 2 quarters, the ADR, the average room rate, has been hitting the roof. So very much by around 20%. People were so eager to travel that, it was the first time that I've seen that the price elasticity of demand has been so low, so small. I talked to the head of distribution of one of the biggest chain a few months ago. He told me, Carlo, I would wish our revenue management system to be quicker because we could increase the rate even more because demand will not stop. So that's one key element. What we have also seen during this crisis is that, all of us, we rely much more on tech, on mobile, to consume, to buy goods, but also to buy travel products. So what we see at bookings, that 2/3 of the bookings are currently made on a mobile device. In your region, it's even higher. We are getting close to 75%. So that's also a big trend. And I would say the last very important trend is the focus on sustainability. Currently, 78% of the surveyed travelers are saying that they want to book a sustainable accommodation. So now if you ask me, okay, that's the situation, what is the outlook for the rest of the year and for next year? For the rest of the year, I can tell you, so we still see very solid volume of booking despite the macroeconomic situation, that there is a crisis in Europe, in Americas. Currently, when we look at the volume of gross bookings, we're 15% for Q4 versus 2019. So that's good. If you ask me about 2023, honestly, it's very difficult to predict the future, to understand how 23 is going to be. There is a lot of uncertainty. The current war in Ukraine and Russia and the current macroeconomic trends are adding to this uncertainty. And as Glenn was saying, we are very confident because we see very encouraging signs. And one of these promising signs is what is happening currently in APAC. We see that the volume of bookings start picking up again, and it's just the beginning, so we expect this to accelerate. And what we can also feel is that people have very strong desire to travel. So this will continue to fuel our industry in the coming months.
Exciting opportunity for us all. And you're right, I think what is happening in Europe is actually fueling a lot of interregional travel across Asia Pacific. So we're also looking for how do we make sure we capitalize on that opportunity as well. So thank you for sharing. Now, Deepak, CEO, author, lecturer at many renowned institutes, but most of all, happiness ambassador. This one we're going to talk a little bit more about, obviously. But let's think, what we've just heard, great opportunities coming out of the other regions. What are you seeing? You're CEO of an iconic property in Bangkok. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What do you think's next?
Okay, so I'll take 5 minutes. So
Take all the time.
to answer that question. So there are two kind of people who forecast. I'm the type 2. The type 1 is they don't know. Wait for the type 2. And I'm type 2, which is they don't know that they don't know. Okay, saying that, what is going to happen is that we'll see all this kind of demands. Everything is going very good, means whether it is Labua, A, B, C, D, E, F, any hotel, anywhere, single chain, they will all do very well. October 2023, when the airline capacity goes beyond 85%, right now worldwide is 60 to 65%, it goes 85%, the price correction is going to take place. And then 5 things are going to happen. Now the organizations which are following these 5 things are going to stay, and I'm going to give the example of 3 companies which I see doing this, that are following. First is experience over expertise. Many of us, and most of us, are experts. And very few of us know how to translate this expertise into experience. Because the customer is not looking for any expertise. He's looking for a great time, a great experience. How do every organization in the world to stay beyond October 2023 can translate the expertise to experience? That is point number 1. Point number 2, happiness. I like the survey and everything, and I think Booking.com has got its facts very much right. So the 3 companies that are doing very well in what I see is Booking.com, is getting recorded, vis-a-vis the other OTAs. And not because I'm sitting here, because we see the ADR going up, And where we're seeing the other competitors of Booking.com is saying, oh, the travelers are not traveling, they're going to take a little bit longer, but Booking.com is penetrating. Number two company that is doing and has changed the thing, and I'm going to come to that part, where they have done far much better than the third company that I'm going to mention is Singapore Airlines. And number three company, you don't have to guess, is Labua. Okay, now, so it is experience over expertise. Second is happiness. How do you translate happiness? Because when people are traveling, they say, oh, do you like this destination? Oh, I love that destination. People are so nice. Everything is coming to people. People sitting on the dais, people sitting there listening. Everything is coming to people. So how do we make sure in a destination that people are giving a great experience, not an expertise? That is point number two. Third is demarketing. The demarketing is a term which has been there since 1971-73, but it has come out post-COVID quite well. What is demarketing? Demarketing is not that you don't market. Demarketing is that how do you make people more product conscious and less price sensitive? So I give you a very small example about demarketing at Labua, where everybody in the city, Bangkok city, there are many people from Bangkok city, and they know it's a fact. When they were losing their food and beverage share, what did Labua do? We increased our pricing. Also at the same time, enhanced the product line. Now today, our two restaurants are the only two restaurants in the world which is serving as a part of wine pairing, Chateau Margaux and Chateau Cheval Blanc. Nobody would have ever heard, and it's not there in the world. You show me a third restaurant, I'll be very surprised, none. So what has happened? The revenue went up, of course, because the price is higher. But the number of guests also increased. Why? Because post-COVID, people are looking for product rather than price. And which Carlos also mentioned, that people, though may say they are price conscious, and there's a reason why people are saying price conscious, because they're getting more expertise and less experience. But while they're booking through Booking.com, because the experience is good, so they're not looking at the price, they're going for products. So that is what is happening. So it is very important that we understand the philosophy of a customer. And that brings to the fourth point, where Singapore Airlines has done very well. So I gave an example of booking. While booking, however, the market is saying, getting before the booking engine, oh, price sensitive. But they get the ease of operation, the choice of hotels, the customer service, everything, they go for product and they ignore price. Now, Singapore Airlines, what they have done, all those who are staying in Singapore, that they knew two things that is very important for people. One is their loyalty program, which is called PPS. So they have a PPS Solitaire and PPS Solitaire Life memberships, which they have stopped the life memberships. They, during COVID time when people were not traveling, they retained their status by adding points and everything. So they are the only airline, they retained everybody's loyalty points. So post-COVID, these people do not have the burden to start traveling a lot. So they are comfortable. I don't know how many of you have flown out of Changi, but looking at it, most of you, and I don't know how many of has flown Singapore Airlines, but most of you, they redid in a very nice way their lounge. And you know why they did it? Because they want to show a difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID. And that's a part of demarketing. What is the part of demarketing? Because there's a psychology of a customer. The customer is looking for what? Happiness. The customer is looking for what? Experience. The customer is looking for product. That is a demarketing, because we give names. The fourth thing which we are not looking at, the customer is looking at behavior pattern. He wants his behavior coming from different part of the world to be appreciated, understood, and translated. Now, how do you take different nationalities, different behaviors within one house, there are so many people, and translate that into a product and give it? So what we look for, We look for moment of truths. We look for trigger points and then translate those trigger points as a part of experiential journey. While we opened and I was looking as so it's actually how Labua was doing, so thanks for sharing that chart, Carlos. When we were starting in month of December, Jan, Rajan, my colleague, is sitting here. So I said, Rajan, and he supported us, like he and his team did a great job because, so I said, Rajan, we are not going to increase the prices, but we are not going to drop the prices in rooms. We are not going to drop the prices, we'll maintain the prices. So we took a hit, but the experience of the customer went on going up. And I told the team, I said, don't worry, come October, come September, we will beat the market because we have not been fluctuating on the price. And the customer who's staying, his experience is going up because that is his psychology. So this is what I have to say for my first round. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No, this is very exciting to hear. And I love these points around experience over expertise, demarketing, and we're going to come a little bit more to that maybe with you, Fiona. But there's just a lot of opportunity there. And I love the fact that maybe changing the game pre and post pandemic actually makes a huge difference and not just doing what we were doing before. So thank you for sharing. We're going to touch a bit more on the happiness piece as well. How do we get there? Deepak is not just a happiness ambassador, he actually lectures in happiness. So he's a genuine authority on this topic.
Thank you.
But Fiona, you joined Booking. Well, you've heard some great things here about what's happening across the rest of the world. You've joined Booking 5 months ago. You've had an opportunity to get out and see some of the regions. You've heard about what Deepak is sharing about demarketing and experience over expertise. What can you share on what you've seen so far?
Let me give my personal side of things first. So travel makes me happy, Deepa. And when travel was taken away, I wasn't very happy. But I think like many people, we took travel for granted pre-pandemic. But, you know, it's so important looking at everything going on in the world today. I actually have traveled a huge amount, probably a lot more before I had kids. And I think it's fair to say travel really opens your mind and it helps you appreciate and learn from other cultures and from other places. And of course, to experience how sort of fascinating but also fragile our world is. And so I think today, all of those things coming together, it's really important that we get back to travel and let people experience it in a way that works for them. And there's a lot more purpose out there too. But I think things changed in the pandemic. And if I look at the way we talked about digital, it's not just the way we started shopping that was over such a long time that it's stuck. People have moved how they want to interact and do digital. And so those things have changed. But what hasn't changed is people want to get back to travel. They aren't happy not having it. And we're seeing that there's high intent. So it's not just the Northern Hemisphere that Carlo talks about. I think globally, we are cautiously optimistic and travelers are ready to come back out there again. Looking in detail, for December, our early searches are up at least more than 50% year on year. So we're seeing actual concrete intent coming back. And as we also saw about the 90% of early bookings needing flexibility, travelers are still booking in uncertain times, but rather than not book, they're actually looking to have flexibility, obviously cancellations and insurances and those things feature. So helping have that ready to make sure travelers can book in a way that still feels good is where we're going to help you all focus. So let's have a look up close here at exactly in the high season who are doing these searches, which we see. And 44% of travelers are planning a family trip to Asia. I myself am going on holiday with the kids in a couple of weeks, and yes, we're coming to Asia. I think the kids were just excited enough to get back on a plane again. For them, happiness is being in the plane and having their own screen for 12 hours rather than the destination. So that, people have not been put off it, even with the logistics. And of course, here, half of searches are coming from couples or those, mentioning a partner. And so adjusting your prices to attract different target audiences here will help you to feature higher in the visibility and the rankings with Booking. And this third statistic, which I find quite surprising from a couple of different dimensions, when we look at the lengths of stay, people booking, there was more than 5% of bookings between October and March for coming 2023 that had a length of stay longer than 14 days. So that could be that people have built up just a massive stack of annual leave that they're dying to use, Or the fact that people can work from anywhere, work from home, and actually are choosing to just book places and go and experience the world and take their work with them at the same time. So lots of different dimensions, and remembering how you can sort of tailor your offer to attract these differing needs is how we want to help you going forward.
That's really interesting to see. And actually, it's interesting. I've spoken to a few friends back home. I'm from the UK originally. I think with the coming winter season, these long stays, I've even heard from a couple of people anecdotally, but I think it may be true that the cost of heating their houses is going to be more than spending a month in Bali or a month in Thailand. And so I think we will anticipate to see quite a lot over the winter period where we will bring in these travelers escaping not just the cold, but the cost of running through the winter. So it's great to see these opportunities that we can also capitalize a bit more on. Deepak, I'm going to come back to you. Actually, let me just go and see if we've got the poll. Let's have a quick look to see if the poll results are there.
I'll be very keen to see that.
Yes, and then I think we can have that
Wearing my
discussion.
glasses. So.
Yeah, I think I also might need my glasses. Okay, so what is coming out top of mind? It is exploration. So pretty in line with what we've been talking about in terms of the number one thing that's on top of your mind is exploring. And that's also what we've seen some of the trends across the region as we've looked at different locations have become more popular in the last few months than they may have been pre-pandemic. People are looking to explore further, either in their own backyard of their own countries or in new places that they've wanted to go to and now going. What is number two? We've got
Number two is
new
New locations.
family time.
Family time.
So I think they're nicely aligned there. Interesting to see that sustainable travel is lower at 5% right now, because we do see 78% of travel, and I think you had it also, Fiona, that 78% of travelers are wanting to travel more consciously. But in fairness, if I have to rank, I'm also maybe going to go with exploration as number one, but then maybe how I do it could also be on the sustainable ways. Interesting to see health concerns are the lowest, and this is also great to see. So health concerns at with only 4% of you saying that. Earlier on, I think we did some tests on this, and there was concerns around border closures, getting sick when you get somewhere, what happens then? So it's great to see that that now is reducing a lot here. Any thoughts, Deepak, on what you were seeing there?
I'm surprised to see that sustainable travel is so low.
I think maybe just because it was ranked in terms of what's number one priority, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know what is your data. I think sustainable travel would be very, very high.
Yes.
In actual bookings, no?
In actual bookings, yes. And we're going to talk a lot more about sustainability in one of the other sessions, and we'll share what we're doing around that. But yes, globally, 78% of travelers have said that they want to travel more consciously, and therefore we need to make sure that we also meet those travelers where they need us to be. So we're definitely going to do that. Sure. So what else are you seeing? What else are you hearing as you're talking to your travelers that are coming in? They want to spend more? They're drinking great wine on your rooftop? They're having good dinners?
See, what has happened with the COVID, okay, and I'm not the only one. I'm one of them, okay, that it has opened our eyes. And there's a Tibetan saying that we don't know what is going to happen between tomorrow and now. So people have realized that, and they have started traveling. That is one. Second is, I agree that they're going for a new destination. Third, again, I will say the same thing, they're going for experience. And experience is not, how do you make an experience something that the customer thinks that is not going through anything? Ease of booking, browsing for the hotels, staying in a hotel, looking for drinks, looking for food, looking for anything, or looking for certain places to go, people in those cities. So though people have said exploration, there will be very few people who would love to travel in this room to far ends of the world where they have never been there before.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm one of them, I think.
I don't know.
Yes.
Means, if I have to say that there's a nice village in the far corner and the nearest Starbucks, which I see a lot of Starbucks cup, the reason I'm pointing that because I didn't have one. So
if anyone can get one, that would be great.
And the nearest Starbucks is 5 hours flight. How many of you would like to travel? Well, this is not even one person.
It's a few waves from the back.
So I think it comes to, I'm again saying the same thing, it again comes to experience. While booking, while taking a cab from the airport to the hotel, while entering the hotel, feeling comfortable, and while taking the guided tours, and language is not a barrier. When the traveler is traveling, language is never a barrier. You know what is a barrier? People. So that is only my take. That is the thing. Again, coming back to the experience. Means how fast can I book my room if I get into booking.com? How fast I can check in if I'm checking in at Le Bois? How fast and how, without any delays, the flight can take me to my next destination, and how clean is that aircraft? 3 basic things, but very difficult to do.
Difficult, yeah. Move from expertise to experience. I like this. I'm opening now the questions that you've loaded into the app. Please continue to put the questions in. We will try and answer as many as we can. And interesting, Deepak, I'm going to stay with you just for a second, and then I'll open the question to Fiona and to Carlo. But you're talking about experiences and what is required. There's a question here, particularly about the Chinese travelers. And obviously, Thailand is a big destination for the Chinese. China's not open yet, but everybody is gearing up to be very ready when it does open. Is there any expectation from you in terms of changing travelers' wants and needs when China does open up? Are you thinking about them differently?
No, I think we are a very global organization. And, when Chinese started traveling, it's a very hilarious thing. So I used to go to London, and in a previous lives, when the Chinese traveler would go, they will only go to 2 stores, Louis Vuitton and Chanel on their own. Otherwise, other stores, they will go in a group. They were very conscious. They gained. And suddenly, a new wave started. Websites are done in Chinese. So hotel has got Chinese food, Chinese staff, and then different languages. And we didn't do any of these. We didn't get many Chinese customers, but who we got, the city never got. So we have had few Chinese customers who are traveling. How much you think they are spending per evening on a meal? Forget the room rate. Our room rates are not so expensive. Just a question. And now, post-COVID. And we had one last night also. You must have seen that revenue, Rajan, right? Okay. So anything. It's 4 people. They are Chinese. How much they would have spent in one evening? So we take only yesterday as an example.
Guess?
Sorry? 2,000. I spent 5,000 yesterday, and I'm not Chinese. But anyway.
What currency were we talking then? Are we on the same one?
Tell me, how many?
Are you talking in Thai baht?
Oh, dollars, US dollars.
Okay, let's just make sure
we
we're
will
on
take
the
any
same page.
currency. So tell me. $50,000.
Sorry, 4 Chinese travelers spent $50,000.
$50,000 US dollar last evening. So, and the menu is not in Chinese. There's no staff who speaks Chinese. They don't speak English.
Presumably they understood the numbers.
But you know what they speak? We have a common language. What is that common language?
Happiness?
You didn't even hear me. It is a bridge not too far. It's an experience. We are providing experience. They are getting the experience. So you know why I said a bridge not too far? Because I want to take this opportunity. They told me that I have 2 minutes of commercial spots. I'm a debut author, and I'm giving my book, A Bridge Not Too Far, to Laura. Yeah. Please.
Thank you so much.
Carlos.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to you, Fiona.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so
Wow, great.
this is the Advanced Readers Edition. But what I'm speaking, if you understand one word called correlation, this book will come very handy, which is also part of curriculum for many graduate courses in US. So that's it.
Fantastic. So there's some things to unpack there when you're thinking about bringing the Chinese traveler in. There's some more questions. Do you want to take anything to add to those points? Are you thinking also about
Just to share the enthusiasm for seeing China open their borders completely. Not sure exactly when that be, and I just hope the industry really is gearing up ready sooner rather than later, so we don't experience things the way we had maybe in Europe with, other challenges that take away from that experience after a much-awaited break.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point.
Optimistic.
Anything, Carlo, from Dad? Okay. There's a couple of questions here about sustainable accommodation and defining them, but I'm actually going to hold those for the sustainable panel later because they'll be the experts to help to answer those questions. But there's another question, Deepak, sorry, it's directed directly at you. I'm not picking this one, but it says, can you please share your perspective on how hotels can continue to maintain experience in light of ongoing staffing challenges? So resourcing, we know, is a global issue.
So it is, the question is, if I understand, is how do you continue to...
With less staff, so resource challenges, but how do you continue to maintain a high level of experience?
It's a very good question because, our staff also, we never fired anyone. It's reduced by 50%. But our experience level hasn't come down because there's no way we can let the experience level come down. It's actually, we don't have a training department. And we don't have a marketing department at Le Bois. And we have outsourced these departments, both the departments. You know to who? It's the greatest company in the world. Now, you're asking me questions, I can also ask questions, right? So tell me the name of the company we have outsourced our training and marketing department.
The customer.
It is called Customers INC. Through using science as a background, we are letting our customers market about us, and we are letting our customers train our employees. And that's why our experience level is consistent and very progressive.
Fantastic, thank you. Any other questions live from the audience before I go to continue with these questions? Anybody want to ask something? We've got mics here. Please don't be shy. Like I say, if you've got the question, probably other people in the room want to know too.
I've got a question from the Merlin Hotels in Phuket. So I hear a lot about changing customer behavior between short haul and long haul travels. And well, the prospects looking more like there's going to be more short haul in the near future or possibly longer future in 2023. I wonder if this is going to be a long-term trend in, well, because I hear like all the results are looking good with like international travelers coming back and traveling abroad. But does abroad mean only the next door, or does it mean long-haul flights, do you think?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a trend that we have seen in Europe, and we'd say I think this is a long-term trend. This is what we call hyperlocal, where people want to go through a very authentic experience. And also during the crisis, we have had, you could not cross the border. So you had to rediscover what was next door. And sometimes people were making a trip only 30 minutes, 40 minutes away from where they were living, and they were basically experiencing the world or discovering new things. And we see this trend also to remain. And if we think also about sustainability, people will consider twice before going on a plane. And if you can have a good time, for 1 week, a long weekend, not far away from you, this is something that will continue to happen, definitely.
Yeah. Can I build on that one? I think
Please.
when you've seen during the pandemic the different ways that COVID was handled, and also the uncertainty of would I get stuck in a place very, very far away from home rather than in a country next door. Those concerns are still with travellers, but we're seeing that change and travel come back. One, as flights become more available. Even Glenn said at the beginning, we're going to be doing Singapore as well soon. But it's going to take a little bit time for people to get that confidence that actually they are going to be okay, and COVID hopefully disappears sort of into the background or on much lower levels, and then it's that confidence booster. But we're ready when that does happen.
Absolutely, thank you. And thank you for the question.
Thank you.
We have another couple of questions here. We have about 5 minutes left. So one, and Carlo, I'll ask the question to you first because you've seen these trends maybe across the region, and Deepak, then I'll come to you. But do you think guests will still have the concern on hygiene when staying in a hotel? And will hotels be looking at more contactless solutions to enhance the guest experience? Are we hearing and seeing that?
I think what we have seen in Europe during the crisis, yes, totally. People were even calling the hotel first to make sure that the hotel was open. And the health measures were very important. This is something that we had to do. We really put all the health measures really at the top of the page and trying to source this information from all our partners. That was very important for people to make confident or feel more secure about the prospect of booking a hotel. But people were saying during the crisis, oh, the world will change after the pandemic. But I can tell you what we have seen in Europe, it does not. We are back to normal. People forget about it. If you ask a French guy today to wear a mask, or a Dutch guy even worse, they, no. So that change of culture, maybe, and then again, maybe this will be different across the different regions. I think in this region, you are much more educated on all decision measures, maybe more than in France, than in Europe or in the US. But in Europe and the US, we are really it's really back to normal. So that issue is really, people are really, it's no longer on top of mind. While it's still today here, it's still in part of the world where you still have restrictions, so it's still number one priority. So I would say for you, when opening up, for the next few months, that will be certainly something that will remain on top of the mind of the travelers, of your customers, yes.
Thank you. And Deepak, are you also seeing that? Are you being requested for more contactless, more hygiene measures?
Okay, so I'll go hygiene in a different manner. When people are booking hotels, say 3-star plus to 5-star or luxury hotel, hygiene is given. Every traveler believes that hygiene would be there. But then, I'll give the Singapore Airlines examples, how they change the lounge, how we do the flower arrangement, like how Rajanath, GM operations had changed the whole air system and everything, and that smell, that scent that comes out, which is giving that level of comfort to them that the place would be nice. You go to the room, you see clean sheets and everything. This is what the customer is looking at. But any mark on a sheet or on a bathrobe or on a napkin is going to create an issue, and that customer is never going to get back to that hotel. So answering the question, hygiene is given, but the hotels have to be very careful how and what they are putting their linen, the napkins, because that is not about one hotel. Then we are talking about the whole destination. So I think in this, I would say, we all have to work together. It is our world. Travel is our world. And we all have to work together to make sure we give safe, hygienic, and comfortable travel to each and every customer.
That's a great point. Thank you for sharing. And I think that applies to so many parts of our industry, right, where we can come together to make such a big difference and not try and solve a lot of these problems by ourselves. Fiona, just one question. Oh, there's more questions popped in, but there was one here. We will end with this one. Speaking of customers choosing experience over price, we know price elasticity is all-time low. Deepak talked about experience over expertise, and that's becoming more important. Do you think this is specifically a trend in certain regions, certain markets, or do you see this as a global opportunity?
I mean, global opportunity. I don't have the details per region per se. What I would say is that customers want experiences. I do tend to agree with that. But as a company, we're all about making those experiences easy. Yes, at value, but we really err on the side of focusing on the experience and how it can be easier. And taking the friction out of travel is what we do. So I'm going to leave with that as the...
And that's a great way to end. Removing friction from travel, making experience over expertise. We can follow the great trends that we've seen across Europe and the US and the other markets, and we will continue to see great opportunities for us across the region. As I said, more and more borders, restrictions lifted. We're finally, I feel, in the final stretch. Of course, we have no clue. We don't have a crystal ball for China, but the rest of the region is opening up nicely. With that, I would like to thank you very much for joining us, Fiona, Deepak, Carlo. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you for your participation, and we look forward to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the book.